So let me just quickly call Lance. Anyone else who has questions can go ask the questions. I'm just going to quickly get my partner up. Don't all jump at once. It's okay.
I think Michael had a question too that I said would be good to ask today.
Mike, Marty or Mike?
Cronin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You can just refer to me by my last name if that
Sorry.
helps everyone too.
Mike,
I know there's so many Mikes. I've never been just the only Mike in any situation I've ever been in, so it's just been Cronin for most of my life.
Okay.
I was asking Quinn before. We were using a question from the basic questions YAML, and it was other party gather, but me and the subject matter expert decided that was not exactly right for this, the motion to vacate default judgment, because the other parties asks if you're starting or responding to something, and then it asks if it's a business or organization. And in pretty much every case, you're going to be responding and it's going to be to a person. So those questions aren't really needed anymore. More so, you can press no, and then it just skips over gathering the person's information. So we always need the landlord's information to fill in on the document. So I was looking through the basic questions.
You're doing?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. You're doing the motion to vacate default in a housing case, right?
Yes.
So it definitely, almost all the time, it's going to be an organization, not a person. I mean, not all the time. There's lots of small landlords, but the most common cases are definitely going to be.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what I thought. But then the Gordon, who's the SME that I've been working with, said that it's going to be a person.
That's really surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't like the way it was phrased, but yeah, I definitely want to keep it as being business or organization.
It's not your job to check back with Gordon on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was just relying off what he said. When I worked in a firm, a lot of the times it's organization as well. So I was confused by that as well. And I said that to him, but then I'm trying to see what he said to me.
But yeah, so that's the wrong question for what you're asking anyway. I'm sorry. So you're trying to do a technical thing. We're getting to the substance.
Yeah.
So we can go over both. I think you won't want to remove the question that asks whether it's a business or an individual who's the landlord.
Yeah.
Because especially with the recent change in the law, it's very likely to be you have to list the organization. If there's any organization involved in the case, you can't really list an individual very often anymore. So yeah, why don't you share your screen and let's take a look at it together and see if we can break it down into the two separate questions and see how we would solve them.
Yeah, sure.
Just while Mike's showing his screen, something that I wanted to mention that I realized might have been a bit confusing. When we say MVP, it's the minimum viable product. It's basically, I'm probably going to mess up this definition, but it's maybe exactly what the user could get right now, or maybe a little bit better. Is that correct, Amy? Quentin, Michelle?
So it's the smallest set of feature changes you can push out that will still be useful to someone. So it does more than what they can do now and doesn't cause any harm.
So minimum viable product. That's just in case anyone was confused.
And we're trying to beat a PDF right now. That's the
not too hard to do.
We're trying to go for.
Okay.
You don't have to pinch and zoom on your phone. Yay, we've won.
Yeah, okay. So I've been kind of playing around with it. I guess it's probably not what we need anymore, but I was going to try to figure out a way to put this into it because that just collected the individual's information. But I mean, if you think we should stick with the other party basic question file, then I think that's okay. It's just the one issue that he had is that if you click no to it be another person being on the other side of the argument, then you can just skip over gathering the person's information, which is not what you want in this case. Because you're almost always responding to someone.
So the way that I would handle that is by answering that question with code. So we can try running through it and you can see, I think it'll make sense if we do it that way. So if we start from the beginning, I think we'll probably hit that question pretty early, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, somewhat.
it'll be worth us doing that, I think.
Let me put it back in here.
Okay, yeah, so we'll be in the first few screens here.
So this is the screen that we want to skip over.
Okay. So this is the first one, right? So the first screen you don't want to have.
Yeah.
So click the source button, and I think this will help us get to what we're trying to do. So this is the kind of the way to figure out what question are we missing that we could answer a different way.
Okay.
So if we go to the end of this screen, you'll see it needed definition of user ask role. And above here, we can see here, it's saying there's a whole section of conditionals where it's checking to see what the user role is.
Okay.
That's the variable that is a little, maybe it's not as clear as I was hoping from just looking at the source, but that's the variable that we can define that will prevent those other questions from being asked.
Okay.
So in our case, user role is going to always be defendant.
Mhm.
So we just want a question in our code, a line in our code block that says user role underscore role is equal to defendant. And then we should get that question, shouldn't be asked anymore.
Okay, and it'll be a code block?
Inside our existing code block would be fine. So if we go back to the playground.
Okay.
And somewhere before we get to other parties.gather and users.gather.
Like in the initial code block here?
That'll be fine. Yeah, we can do it
Okay.
right there.
Right.
So probably there's a couple different ways that I like to do it, but sometimes we might want to have it kind of at the top. So it's kind of like this. These are the kind of the defaults we're setting for an interview.
Okay.
And you might do it in its own code block, but it's fine just to do it right here in line as well.
Okay.
So we want to write a line that says user underscore role, single equal sign, because we're going to be assigning the value to it. And then in quotes, we're going to put defendant. All right. So before you do save and run, we can go back to our screen and see the next question we wanted to change. We could probably do it without having to start over that way.
Mhm.
So let's say responding. So is there any other person or organization on the other side of this case? This one I think should be a little easier to see from the source button. This is the other question you can get rid of, right?
Mhm.
So it's saying here, let's see. Let's look for the word need. Just search on the page.
Yep.
And then on this screen, we're going to hit source and then do, let's keep scrolling down to be fine. There we go. It said needed definition of other parties. There are any.
Mhm.
So we can set that in our code block as well. Because what
Okay.
that's the question that this is answering. And you can copy and paste it right from that screen if you wanted. So if you remember when we did our Teaching Tuesday last week, we talked about what the question there are any, what role that plays inside when you're gathering a list. And it just is basically like the plain language question you would answer, which is, are there any other parties? It has to be exactly written this way in order to let DocAssemble handle gathering the items in the list. And here we can just set it to true, because we know there's always going to be a landlord in every case where you're trying to remove the default.
Okay. Is that it?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So
Okay.
now let's try saving and running and see if we get those questions to be handled the way that we were hoping that they would be. All
Okay.
right, so I skipped straight to this question.
Awesome. All right. That was pretty much it. That's all I need your help with.
Okay. And the one other thing I could say is if we wanted to change this, probably one thing that would be helpful to make this more specific would be to say, to use the word landlord, like please list the landlord on your case or something like that.
Mm.
And there are cases where there could be more than one landlord who are listed separately. So I think this is still a helpful way to gather it, but you might just want to copy this question and rephrase it so it says landlord rather than other side.
Got it.
Wouldn't
Okay.
sometimes it be a good idea to look at, so for example, the TRO that's already up, look at some of the existing interviews and see how people have already solved this question?
I think that's a great suggestion, Caroline. Yes,
Okay.
I like that.
I have a question about that. How do we access the TRO code? Is that just we just go on GitHub and just look at it there?
I think that's a good way to do it. So Michael, it looks like you had already found how to get the code from the basic questions file. So maybe we could show how to find other files there in that same repository.
Yeah, because something that Lance and I wanted to raise was obviously excluding a basic question totally. And I'm not sure if this is going to be the way that we do it in terms of Mike's question, or if there's something else, because
So we can go up one level. Let me grab a little arrow, sorry. It's 90 degrees here today, so it's too hot to stay inside. Let's see, so yeah, if we go up one level here, we'll see all the files that are there in that questions folder. And then we could scroll down to housing TRO.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the basic strategy, maybe we can do that with your actual interview, Maeve. Unless Michael, if you have any other questions.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Lance, do you have it up?
You're on mute, Lance.
You're muted, yeah.
Sorry. I do have the interview up, but I don't recall exactly where we want to, which of the questions we want to eliminate.
It's the starting or responding, because it's basically the form that we're working on. It's a civil action cover sheet to be filed in the Superior Court. And it's always going to be filed by the plaintiff or the plaintiff's attorney. So there's no need to ask whether you're starting. So the question is that how do we exclude that entirely from our, do we copy that question from basic questions and put something underneath it saying like no?
This is actually, yeah, exactly the same thing that we just did for Michael.
That's Mike,
so you would want to set the user role to plaintiff in your case. Rather, we set it to defendant for Michael, and you're going to want it to be set to plaintiff.
Okay, perfect. And that will solve that. Okay, that's perfect. Got it. So we just look that. And then we do have another few questions, but I don't want to hog the time. So does anybody else on here have questions? Because otherwise Lance and I can go all day. I'm just warning you guys. Okay, it's us. Lance, I asked if you could share, because obviously you've just done the merge and stuff, and I'm not sure, do I pull to a new branch now, or do we do it?
Let me well, one of the questions I have is really how to display numbers on the PDF. Here, let me let me see if I can share. Do you see the civil action cover sheet?
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll see in the tort claims, we've got 2500.0. And I'd like that to be 0.00. And comments if possible, but I'm not, I don't really care that much. And you know, the OCD guy in me would like these all right justified if possible too. But again, I'm not gonna argue on that one. But if
the
we
right
could get
justification, Lance. Sorry, the right
What's that?
justification we do on the PDF, right, guys? We do that on the PDF.
that's a PDF form thing.
That's a pre-processing thing, I think, right?
I think that's
Michelle
right.
saying
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
I assume
Okay,
that's
so
possible.
I'll do
Yeah.
that then.
Okay.
So it's just the other two questions. Sorry to interrupt you there, Lance.
That's fine. No, because I sprung that one on you.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be dealing with this for the 209A as well, because there are a lot of dollar figures there. So let me ask you, do you think that it needs to go down to cents?
I don't think it does, but you know, people filling out this form may have a receipt with cents on it, and they're going to put that in. And I mean, we could round the numbers and just indicate, you know, numbers are rounded. But if people, I think it's only fair if particularly if it's pro se defendants or plaintiffs putting this in, that, you know, I put in this number and it's not the right number.
Yeah.
Doesn't show that, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But we probably don't want to show the cents if they didn't put in cents, potentially.
So
a little
then is there
trickier.
going to be inconsistencies where it's a round figure, we don't have any cents, and then if there are cents, then there'll be a full stop with the 2 cents digits. I'm just thinking of like consistency, what would be better, and also how often could we not just indicate on the question?
Or something.
We
that
could just
something
tell
that-
people to round the numbers up, but then we have to tell it not to put any
digits after the cents, just have no
right
including
in
those
the
cents.
display to not have any decimal points.
Yeah,
Have we come
so
across this before?
it's something
You
that we've
can-
been thinking about. We have an open issue for the 209A for the best way to handle it.
Okay,
I think you
perfect.
can make it I mean, can you just make it an integer, or does docassemble not do
That
that
is-
kind of data type for currency?
That is definitely one of the solutions, is to make it an integer. I think you also mentioned, Lance, wanting to have 1,000 separators, which I think is another great thing to have.
Right. Yeah,
So-
we I don't mean to interrupt, but we set those as currency data types on the interview, which
Mhm.
gives us the dollar sign within the interview. Otherwise, it'll just be if we set it as integer, I don't think we'd have that dollar sign. I mean, we could manually force in a dollar sign there to lead as a leader of that field. But there's a dollar sign in the interview because we've set these at currency.
Right. Yes, and I think that's the right way to do it. And I think you're right to allow people to enter numbers the way that they see them. And it could be frustrating if they don't see it. If they can't type in the cents when it's what they're typing in from a literal receipt in front of them.
Right, and I'm also thinking the confusion about having to explain rounding up. You know, if people aren't familiar with that, it's just going to be more stuff that we have to add onto the
50 or
interview.
greater, yeah.
Isn't there a docassemble way to get the currency value?
Yeah, that's what we have there.
That's the
We currently have
oh,
currency.
I see.
So there's a problem which in theory, you're supposed to be able to show 2 decimal points by default for numbers on a PDF, but it looks like that does not work. So that was the first thing that we were going to try for the 209A. So I think that the answer is that we're going to drop down to the format codes that you can do for numbers, which are general Python functions.
Mm-hmm.
And we might make a nice helper function for it later, but let's just show you how it works directly for now.
Okay.
So essentially, we're going to use US currency formatting rules here.
which is the comma for the thousand separated and the full stop for the cents.
Exactly. And we don't have to worry about it being locale aware. So the interesting thing about this is that there might be some inconsistent displays of this in other, depending on the version of Python, but we're all using the same version of Python, which is 3.6. So we're going to use something called format strings, which are a new thing in Python. So let's see. What I like to do once you kind of know what you're looking for, and in this case, we're really not looking for a docassemble specific function. We're looking for a Python one.
Yeah.
I found here, I'll show you what I found just doing a little bit of research here, is a really nice example on Stack Overflow. So I can show you just reality. It's like we don't always know all the answers right away. And formatting strings is something that I don't do every day. So I'm looking at this example here. So I do know enough to read it. So what I did is I just literally Googled how do I format a number in Python with commas as thousand separators. This says it was asked 10 years ago, so that's kind of old.
Yeah.
But
it's
the
really
answer
old,
here still looks relatively recent. And I happen to know that format strings are part of Python 3, and that those are still in existence. So I'm going to just look at this example and see if it makes sense to me. And it looks like value here is the name of the variable name. I sometimes like to just open up a little interactive Python interpreter to test that out as well. So
We can link a Python interpreter that you can do in the browser. There are a few of them. And there's the one I'm specifically thinking of that will do a Python version that is up to date with this.
So let's try setting our variable to a number that has some decimal points after it. And then we're just going to try using the format string. So let's copy this example here. So we know that we're not in Python 2.7, we're in 3.6 or newer. A format string is a string that's something in text inside quotes that has an F at the beginning of it. There are a few kind of like special types of string formats in Python, and the way that you indicate which one you're using is by putting a single letter prefix at the beginning. So I don't think we could use that other format, which actually is a little bit easier to understand, I think, if you're reading it out, the dot format at the end, but it might work with both. So that's actually another thing I'm going to try. So I'm going to put my var in here and then just see what it says. So it's clearly formatted as a string, and I'm looking at the n, and I think n is also meant to be another variable. Oh, I see. No, never mind. Actually, it just expects the comma there. I was copying the wrong example. And let's try changing our number to be something a little bit bigger. So I get the 1,000 separators, but I don't have it rounded, which is fine. So what I might do here is I'm going to just, again, I don't do this too often, so I'm not sure if I can put a function there. I'm just going to try. Okay, that seems to work. So I think this is kind of the code snippet that you could use. It's a little clunky. I would probably say we can come up with a function that makes it easier to use. And something more readable might be like N format, maybe.
And I mean,
Something.
C format, right? Currency format?
What's that?
C format,
C format.
or thousands format or something. We could
Something
also do,
that's not too long, but to like prevent horizontal scrolling is, I think, a relevant factor here. But it's something you're going to type often, a lot of times as well. But yes, this could be a place to violate our rule about having long readable names, just because typing out thousands formatter is a little bit clunky.
but I mean, yeah. I mean, it could also add $1 if we wanted to, right? We could add $1 to the beginning, et cetera, et cetera.
So I don't think we ever want to do that. So
Okay.
Lance, maybe you can show me your screen again.
Mhm.
So there is a built-in currency function inside docassemble, which handles, I think it does put the comma separator in there, and it makes sure that it has a .00 at the end, which it seems like we don't want.
Yeah.
But it also has the dollar sign.
You need to turn yours off. There. Okay.
We don't, they, okay, never mind.
So in almost all the PDFs that I've seen, I'm just going to check the one that you're working on, Lance. It has the dollar sign in the PDF already. So adding it inside would be redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We
just for the
wouldn't
actual
want,
interview itself.
Couldn't you take care of that with the PDF? Just cover it and make the background white, and then
it shows up on the PDF. We didn't. This is coming in as a just. I don't even think it probably comes in just as a string, right? It does the math within the interview. Here we can go back. I'll show you.
Oh, is it doing math as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lance did that.
All right.
I did the radio buttons though. So, I mean, who's the
Just
real
saying
winner
that
here?
Just saying that the form dollar button doesn't have to interfere. Just because the form comes with a dollar button, that doesn't mean it has to interfere with us having consistent formatting that is easy to program. If we just override it, then that won't have to be a problem.
Yep. But yeah, in this case, it seems like every form has the dollar symbol in the PDF. So we'd be changing all the PDFs instead of changing our function.
Okay, I mean, we have to edit the PDFs anyway, but all right.
Not again. What?
I mean, if we were doing this from the start, like if we were.
Oh, sure. Okay. It's like, no, not again.
Yeah, it's a good point. We're not stuck with what it says. But I think in this case, I think the value of adding the currency symbol doesn't quite make sense here.
I don't think I'm expressing myself well, but that's fine.
So here's in the interview, it gives you this, where you can put your amounts in this way. Actually, I didn't see. That's very interesting. That when it's the round numbers, it puts just a single digit. But because we kind of named it currency, it shows up that way. So you enter your amount in like that, and it's gonna retain that. And I haven't done any. Now I have to run through the whole interview again, and I'm not going to. How's that? But
I think we did see from that little preview thumbnail that it has the currency symbol in there already. Oh yeah, and you have it open still. So,
right. But what I'm saying is I haven't done it. I haven't done it with 2 decimal points. All of these have been round numbers in my testing as I run through it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how it would treat 2 decimal. It might show up as 2 decimal, and then the math would show up. The totals would show up as 2 decimals. But I don't know if that, again, that wouldn't be consistent with all of the fields.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't used this form. I wonder if anyone on the call has a thought about whether it's okay for us to drop the cents. My sense is it is. I can't think of any example of a court case where the cents were important.
I think the person that has experience with this is Kate, perhaps Caroline as well, and maybe David with Superior Court. But the general idea that I got, and when I was looking at it online, is that it's really just to give the court an overview of what track it's supposed to be on and how long the case is going to take at trial. They're not going to be, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like evidence. I mean, it forms part of the record, but it's not, they're going to look at the actual complaint.
Right. Oh, so this is a cover sheet. It's not even the actual complaint, right? It's a really good point.
Yeah, it's just a cover sheet that goes on top of the file, so you can maybe, I don't know, the clerks can organize the files. Yeah.
And they're probably they might be checking for jurisdictional amount or something like that.
Exactly,
which is not
right.
The penny.
So the sense isn't vital, but I think the concern that we have is that, pro se users might not realize why the number is different. But if we just do the rounding, I mean,
I think most numbers, Maeve, you may not recognize this, but for anybody who files taxes, they're always round. If people use a tax
True.
program, they always round it. They never use cents. And I think you're, I think it's not going to be disconcerting cents.
Okay.
The only place I've actually seen cents in a formal setting is in child support. It's not at the courts. It's when the Department of Revenue is collecting overdue child support. Then they use cents because they're calculating interest and penalties and stuff. But
Oh, that makes sense.
I suspect you don't need cents. And I think the court, many times people reading forms appreciate not seeing cents.
Okay.
It's a little easier to read the number, right? You don't need to,
Yeah.
to parse that decimal
Right,
point.
right.
You see it's not a significant part of the
But
number.
then our question becomes, how do we get rid of the decimal point? We're not out of the woods yet, right?
Yep. So I'm going to just show it to you again. So I think we have our
Okay.
final code here. And the question is whether we should bundle it into a function that's available to everybody. I think the answer is for sure yes.
Okay.
Let's do one more check and just make sure there's not some other existing function that's in DocAssemble that already does this. Just because I don't do it very often doesn't mean it doesn't already exist inside a DocAssemble function. I feel sure that it's been done in like one of the other platforms like Community Lawyer or Documate. I think I've seen they had similar functions like that.
And
we can't be the first.
And everyone should recognize Quentin's doing a really good job of modeling the process of finding stuff and getting it. So this is not distraction. This is the thing. So this is how folks work. So just keep that in mind.
That was the biggest thing when I learned to code is I'd go up and ask people and they'd say, well, look it up. And at first I thought they were just yanking my chain, but in fact, that's how they do it. That's how one does it.
That's how lawyers do it too. You ask lawyers questions. My lawyers always look it up.
No, our lawyers they just BS until they get right in.
But, I mean,
depends on whether you're in court or not, right?
Kate does that too. You ask her a question, she says what she thinks, but then she always goes and checks the statute. All the lawyers that contributed to Slack, when we had questions, they always go back to the law, which is
right. You see, I think it's this, but let me just quickly go check. That's what I would do.
All right, so this is interesting. So this is the built-in currency function we were talking about. I'm used to it, and I did not know it had an option to leave off the decimals already.
Okay.
It's a little long to say, but it exists there. So what I'm curious is, does it use 1000 separator? So let's try to read this and see.
So if I wrap my number in that function, my variable to display. Okay.
It does not look like it does the 1000 separator, but let's just try running it and putting a large enough number in and see what it does. I haven't used this in a while.
Quentin,
So
you can do a function inside another function, couldn't you? Like
we absolutely could, yeah.
Does integer?
But I don't have access to that because it's not installed on my computer.
Oh.
So I couldn't run it in this interactive editor. Okay, well, so look at this. So this actually, I think, will do exactly what we want. We don't have to write our own function. We just have to use this syntax here. So it looks like it automatically puts in the 1000 separator or whatever that follows the locale. And we just have to include this option, decimals equals false. And we can use, oh, well, no, this is another problem, is that it's adding the currency symbol. We don't really want that.
Right.
So I think we do want just to have our own version of the currency function with a name that makes it clear it's our own version that'll handle this. So I think this is the best solution. That I don't see a different number formatting function here that does exactly what we were looking for. So let's just try looking for that, thousands. So these are the kind of clues that I would use for searching. And I'm not seeing it. Let's just go back to where we saw that in the table of contents and just make sure, is there any chance that we're missing another function so we're not reinventing the wheel? So add separators looked promising, but that's not what we want. That's adding separators to a list, not to adding separators for place value inside a number. None of these look right, and they also look like it should come up right here. So we're going to create our own version of it. But for now, let's try using this code here that I just created.
Okay.
And why don't we put it right into your code so we can see what it looks like, Lance, okay?
Okay.
So I'll put that on the Slack here in the code channel. And once I've done that, you can copy it into your interview and restart
Okay.
the share.
I'm not as quick as you.
Oh, well, I haven't put it on the Slack yet.
Okay. There. Okay, so
So we're not sharing your screen quite yet. You might not have been ready to. Just want to make sure you knew.
yeah. Here, I can go ahead. Here's my code block to pull the documented medical expenses. Right. These are my well. I guess I'm not sure where I would put it.
Yeah, so anybody have a thought? Where would Lance put that code that we just did to format the number?
Where we put data type currency?
It's a good guess. Yeah.
Not there.
any other thought? So remember, thinking about the different parts of our interview, we have the code, we have the interview, we have the attachment itself, the output. So thinking of those areas, which would be, where are we handling the format of the number?
It's only on the display to send it to the PDF.
Yes. So does that give us a clue for which it is going to be in the YAML somewhere? It's not an Adobe option. So where would we look inside our YAML to handle the display part?
The display on the attachment.
Yes.
Isn't it in the attachment blocks?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Third time's a charm. How many times did I have to guess?
So I'm going to find it up here in this JSON object, or is it somewhere else?
If you just search attachment, there's 2 attachment blocks.
Here's an attachment block variable right here.
No. So
that's not it. Okay.
No. There's
Oops, I hit the wrong thing.
There's 2 attachment blocks, which have the variable names from the PDF. So if you go next. Okay, that's one.
Okay.
That's the actual PDF, and then the other one is the preview, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So now where do you?
No, below is a preview of your form.
So let's do the preview version of it. So just search one more time, or a couple more times, so we get to the preview.
Here.
This isn't quite it yet.
Okay.
It's the one right at the bottom there. You see the little yellow.
There we go.
There.
So this attachment block here.
Okay.
So let's find one of those numbers that we wanted to reformat.
Documented medical expenses right here.
Yeah.
And let's try to model that code that we just came up with.
Okay. I feel like I'm in class all over again. And everybody's watching me.
Everyone's watching. It's like when you get called up onto the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's perfect. Right. So we're just going to put that now inside our Mako tags as well.
Okay.
So you removed those.
So where is that? That's totally.
So the $sign brackets means that the inside there is going to be Python. So whatever you want to be Python has to go inside.
Oh, so I still need the $sign bracket here, and then oops, I got the wrong kind of bracket there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word wrap in this online editor is a little confusing. So so it's going to go outside of the quote. So one character.
Okay, outside of the quote, that like
Yep.
that.
Yep, that should do it. And I would put
Okay.
one more space there just to make it visually easier to see. what's
Where
going on.
one more space before
yeah.
this?
Just
Okay.
exactly there. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's try it and see if that one number looks like it's formatted right, and
I
then
think,
we'll
Yeah.
Lance,
right
I
back.
think he's got an extra curly
Oh.
bracket in there.
Do I?
Let's take a peek. So this is why the space is really helpful for formatting. So if we look at, let me just grab a little arrow here. So in our format string, it's using that same curly bracket. So it means a different thing inside this string.
Right.
So we could have had like letters of any kind on the outside in between the quotes still, but on the other side, either side of this curly brace here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically saying, okay, everything inside the curly brace replace with it a formatted version of the thing inside it. It's like Mako tags inside our string, but they're different. It's the Python format string.
Right.
They're kind of doing the same role there. So we have the right number of curly braces.
Sorry.
They're just doing a different role here.
So yeah, so the inside ones are have to do with the formatting. The outside ones are play the role of these. Correct.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So this is a bit clunky, so I think it'll be great for us to have a function, but then it's good to break it down so you can see what the function's doing.
Now,
so
now we have a lot of screens to go through. I don't know if I can. Oops.
That's all right.
Lance, another thing you mentioned was that the signature block wasn't pulling through for you.
Yeah, the signature block wasn't coming through for me. And I'm not sure, of course, why. Oh, and this too. We haven't fixed this yet, Nate.
Oh.
We're only supposed to have one court.
Superior.
Oh, was there? Okay.
It's only because it's a superior court civil action filing sheet. So we only obviously need superior courts.
Okay. So we'll see if.
All right. So that looks pretty good to me. Let's zoom in a little bit. It's a little hard for us to see it on the share, but that looks good though, right?
We've
the
got
a little cut off,
that contract claims number, which is the one we did, is formatted properly. Except no
it was the
comma.
medical expenses. Yeah.
Yeah, that one there.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, right. Because I put that one in.
I am noticing the comma
looks a lot like a period.
Yeah. So that's a PDF formatting thing we'll have to play around with a little bit. So the tail is cut off of the comma, it looks like.
It's really a comma, see? I make it really big.
Which is exactly what the clerk will do.
I think some of it is cut off. So we might have to change the font size of the numbers, for example.
Sure, and those font sizes, that font size is already really small because those text boxes were really, really small.
Okay.
So
do you
if
know
you look
what
at
size it was in points? Like, is it
either 8, maybe 8?
Oh, that is already pretty small.
That is really small.
It's hard to make it smaller.
Those boxes are really, really small. If you compare it to like words, which is size 10, your font doesn't actually look that much smaller, but it is.
Yeah, it does look smaller. Yeah.
There might be, so that's the great thing about that is you can play around with it inside the PDF editor. Probably. I mean, there's always a chance that it will be transformed a little bit through this process, but you might see if the comma is easier to distinguish in a different font.
Okay.
Without changing the size of the font.
Perfect.
Okay. And here you'll notice too that this contract claims number, it took in the 2 decimal points when that was entered.
Yes, because we're just changing the output still.
Right.
Which is good because what we did is we're cutting off the decimals. We're not.
Right.
So the rounding would be different when you did a total.
Yeah.
So
And
it's rounding it after
theoretically-
the total, essentially.
Right. Theoretically, they'll round after the total. Yeah. Or,
At least,
but
yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
will still remember the value, even if it's rounded. When we do the arithmetic to come up with $3,500, it will still remember the actual values under there. So if it's
Yes.
25.33, 10.33, etc., it'll add up to it'll change the total. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you can certainly do the same thing for all of the examples. For all, and it's going to be in both attachment blocks, as Maeve pointed out.
Mhm.
We could also create this function relatively quickly, but relatively quickly is always relative.
Well, but the function isn't going to do. You still have to wrap the numbers in the function, right? So
Yes, that's right.
You're pasting. I mean, it's six more characters versus it's at least for this form, it probably doesn't make sense. There's 10, 11, or 12 maybe number blocks, and so again, a function's going to have almost as many characters and to put in there. So it's not going to help any for this one.
Right. I think
Or
that's
it's not
right.
going to help a significant amount. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the main thing functions can do is, it can reduce errors and promote
Mhm.
readability. But I think if you want to get this out, there's no reason to wait for it, as you said, from the point of view of saving time when you're working on the form.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Those
So that
are
was
all
that.
our questions.
No, you had the signature question.
Oh,
Should we
the
take a look at
signature.
that?
Yeah. I don't know why it doesn't even ask for it. As you saw me run through that interview, it never asked for it.
So we
This
had
is
only
just
gotten
like
to the preview so far.
Yeah.
So let's try
Oh, okay.
see what happens.
So let's go here. Maybe then. Maybe on. That's right. No, here. Yeah. Okay.
Fix it.
Yeah, Maeve and I are looking pretty sheepish now.
I didn't know. Don't bring
I
me
didn't.
into
I
it.
didn't think about it either. Right. Oh.
Oh, well, this is good. This is good to catch. So let's see.
Yeah.
This is what we had issues with in the beginning. The certification.
Right. It's the.
The second
There should be a
signature, because
date,
there's two.
isn't it? The certification signature dates that had
There's
to.
two fields.
Okay.
Well, let's take
certification.
let's take a look at the PDF, if that's okay, and see what the function of that is in the PDF.
The PDF, the preview PDF. I don't have the
preview PDF is fine.
I don't have. Oh, you don't need to look under the hood because I don't have Pro.
Quentin, you're muted.
You're on mute, Quentin.
Sorry, I was a noisy truck passing by, and then I forgot I was going to talk at the same time. All right, so the certification is not. One question I had is the certification always going to be present or not? But it looks like this is always done by an attorney and not ever by an unrepresented plaintiff.
The certification is correct.
Whereas the main signature could be done by a pro se
Right.
user
We
or by-
don't know how much of this is done by the plaintiffs themselves.
Okay. So we've done this before on the code channel, but I don't think in video. So this is going to be pretty helpful, I think, for other people too. So let me just take a little peek here.
You want me to stop share so you can?
Actually, no, you don't have to stop sharing. What
Okay.
I'll do is I'll link you. I think we have an example in the GitHub now, and I'm realizing we could add more examples for different kinds of things. If people are often, it seems like they often need to replace some of the built-in questions, we should have some more examples there. This one I am pretty sure is already there for the signature.
How do you find those examples, just if you don't mind me asking?
No, it's a good question. So let's see. Do we even have the one that I was thinking of here? No, I think I only put it on the Slack. All right, so this document is turning into kind of a reference for code snippets, which may or may not end up being the right place for it. I'm going to put this on the code channel. So Lance, if you want to open that up, then you can, while you have that for everybody to look at, I'm going to just pop up the example of how to get the signature, how to customize which signatures are prompted for.
Yeah. I can
And I'm trying to remember where the most useful example of that will be. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it should definitely be added to this page. I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
I think where it is right now is it's written inside the code. So if you found that section of the code, it would be written as a comment. But I'm going to explain it here.
Okay.
Directly on this page too.
If I need to do something.
Okay, so I'm going to just add a couple of examples here. And the first is going to just be for all the clients. Okay. Okay, so hold on. I know this is probably not riveting as I'm typing that you can't see, but so if you refresh, I put a couple of examples in there now under what is the heading? How to trigger additional signatures is what I called it.
But Lance, maybe just refresh it again. I didn't see you refresh it there.
Oh, and it's not this labeling PDF fields. Sorry. So let's go. It's going to be, if we go up one level, it's internal object names, which is not the most useful, but again, we can rename it. Okay. So signature fields is a list, and that's what in our signature block, it's looking for that list, and it's scanning through it, and it's going to trigger those signatures in the order that they're listed in this list. So this example here is one that Finola and Sinead have used, where it's going through the whole list of clients. There are multiple clients who can sign. And then underneath, there's an example here of just adding one custom signature.
How did they solve that? Well, that's a different question, I guess. Sorry.
So if you're asking like the docx triggering, it would just turn out there was a different signature they were asking for. So it was kind of modeling this code where looking for it to be defined first. But for a variable that we hadn't listed as a specific example. All right, so you have a signature field. Let's go look at the running interview where we ran into that error and see what it's called.
Right.
It's called certification signature, certification_signature.
Okay.
Okay.
So there wasn't a question for that yet. So that's the
The
first
reason that
thing.
it's not in the the reason it's not in the attachment, in that attachment block, Lance, is because that's the preview one with no signature.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's in the attachment block above.
right? Did I spell that right? Here we go. Okay. And this is the final.
That's the final PDF, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we need to add a new question that will actually let someone add that signature, it seems, because it wasn't triggering it.
Oh, because it only asks the person filling out the form to sign, and not the advocate.
Yes.
Well, the person who's going to be
exactly.
certifying, the attorney certifying.
Right. The certifying
basically-
signature.
We need to account for the fact that it could either be a pro se user signing or an attorney signing, and then an attorney signing the certification. So, but I guess, no, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question for the next thing. So let's first start by adding a block that lets us get the signature, because we're
Okay.
missing that.
Okay.
And I think our interview generator intentionally does not create any signature blocks, but we probably should, there's no reason to keep it that way.
I stole something, but I probably could steal the signature block thing, right?
Yeah, that's okay though.
Okay, here. I'm just going to do
Yeah, no,
this.
that's a good.
So I don't have to look and look and look.
Yep. So yeah, we'll just say like, by signing below, you certify that whatever the certification is, maybe. Or maybe that's too long for a signature, actually.
How about that?
Signature block is kind of a weird block in that it doesn't really display a lot of the text because it tries to make room for you to sign, which is not always actually helpful. So you often can't put anything in the sub question, actually.
Okay. Do I just delete?
Maybe just let's delete the sub question.
Okay.
And change where it says by signing below. I'm sorry, I told you to write exactly that, but now I'm rethinking it. I think it should probably just say like sign below and then the name of the attorney.
Below.
I don't know if you have
a
variable for the name of the attorney.
Yeah. What is it called? What is the variable?
Maybe it's just attorney's
name.
0.
Help me out here.
The variable for the
attorney name. Attorneys. So it would be what we would go boom, oops, boom, boom. Oops, I always put the wrong bracket.
early one here.
I always there.
That's our notes bracket.
Yep. And you could reword that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little awkward, I guess. But
a little commanding. Sign below. Okay.
So we're not using the field statement for signatures. They're a special kind of block. Yep. So we're going to delete those. And we're just going to have the word signature. This is a signature type question. And then colon and the name of the variable.
Okay. And what did we say? Certification signature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Now it just sent me flying.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
And we can use the word under here. That's pretty helpful sometimes because it kind of replicates the visual of signing above your name. So I often like to have that in a signature block. So maybe on a new line, it can either go after or before the field name, but I think usually I like it. I mean, it really could go in either place.
Okay, but is it easier for the person who's going to come in and clean up Maven my code to have it after or before?
Let's keep it above the signature, the line of 494. So make a new line above that one. It's not going to be indented. So yep, just like that. So it's the keyword under, colon, and then a vertical pipe, and then a new indented line, and then you can put whatever you want. So I would probably just put attorneys like in those Mako tags.
Okay.
So it would show the person's name right above where they're signing.
Oh, I see. Right.
Okay.
Right below where they're signing, rather. I mean, yeah. Okay, so this actually will work without any more changes. Do you reference that certification signature inside your code block right now?
I can't remember. Can you just search, please? I don't think we do.
So the one thing is that will happen is that it will trigger it because the attachment needs that. You won't actually have to manually trigger it by
Okay.
adding it to that list of signature fields. But that
I don't see it
is probably
anywhere.
something we should do anyway.
No, I don't think it's in there.
Okay.
It's not here anyway in this object.
So let's go to our interview order code block.
Okay. And did we just?
I think it has. Yep, there we go. All right. So, and it's conditional, isn't it? So we don't always want. You're going to probably come up with the condition later, but just to show you the example of how we would build that list of signature fields.
Okay.
Let's create a new line. It really could go anywhere, but maybe logically it should go next to the place where we trigger the signatures. So that's that basic question on 618. So above that,
Okay.
let's add a new line that says signature underscore fields. And we're going to set it equal to a list. So does anyone remember, and it could just be from the example that we had up on the screen a little while ago, but anyone remember how to write a Python list?
I saw it. Something for client of client in clients or.
So not to display it, but we're just
that
gonna.
Okay.
We're assigning a list. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna use square brackets here.
Okay.
And then each item in it's going to be in quotes because it's text. It's not the variable we're going to use. We're going to name the variable.
Quotes, correct?
Either single or double quotes are fine in Python. So whatever is more readable for you.
Okay.
So we're going to have the variable name, the signature variable name. So it's going to be that same one we just used. I think it was called certification underscore signature.
Yeah.
And close that quote up. And then we also want to show the first user's signature. So that's in quotes again, after a comma.
User underscore signature bracket 0.
So we actually do
users. The other way around there.
Yep.
Users.
Dot signature.
And then dot signature. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right beneath it. Okay.
Great. And then you can close
that up. And then I
need
to close that bracket. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So what you're going to want to go back and do at some point is to have two versions of this signature fields variable, and just in an if statement, whether there's an attorney who's signing the form or not.
So
and then, yeah, and then inside the attachment block, I've been having most people go ahead and test everything with this turned on right away. So we might want to turn on the skip undefined option in your attachment block. You'll be able to see and get experience with what kinds of errors that can create right away. But that will handle, you can get rid of that line, mark unfilled fields empty. So on line 616,
up here,
that line. This is a new option that got added halfway through our project to DocAssembly.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then in both of the attachment blocks, add the line skip undefined. And true. It's the same indentation level as the name and file name.
So just skip. Whoops, here. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, again. And it can go anywhere as you've caught on, so it can go anywhere with that same indentation.
And then undefined.
Skip space undefined.
No, with no colon.
Yep. And then the colon goes at the end, and then true.
I see what you're saying. To skip undefined the. Okay.
Yep. The keyword. And a capital T is better.
It's a capital T for true. Go ahead. Someone said
specifier is the DocAssemblism.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I can find.
I go back and forth on whether it's helpful. Or...
My next attachment variable or block.
Yep. And it looks like you found it right there. Yep.
Yeah.
And then do that same thing.
I have one too many here. There.
Yep. So now once you add in that if statement, you're going to want to check and see if there's other things that aren't being filled in that you wanted to. But this is
Right.
makes it a lot easier to handle the logic of the attachment block if you have that option turned on.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
really curious to see how this behaves.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah.
So we have to go. We'll probably have to go back though, right? Oh, there we go. It
Oh,
showed
yeah,
up.
so it's triggering. We have that, so that's good.
Or you can see the Lloyd's ink underneath there as well.
And we know that our change worked because we had listed the lawyer's signature first before the user's signature.
Right.
So one thing you might consider changing, and this is what Sinead and Finola did. So this is a good example of how to handle triggering an additional signature in the signature flow.
Mm-hmm.
But given that we don't have a way to send out the signature to more than one person right now, although Jonathan helpfully did give us some sample code to work with to get to that point, you might want to have the attorney is probably the person filling it out in person, and they might send it to their client to sign, to add their signature. So you might want to, what's that?
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, it could be
I
the
just
other way
think that
around too.
No, I just don't think that I think that it's only the attorney filling. If you look at the actual PDF itself, it's either a self-represented litigant or an attorney. So it's something like you as the attorney would file. It's not like a complaint or an affidavit that needs to be signed.
Yeah, and in fact,
good point.
if
You're right.
you look
Okay.
at the form here, if I
But I
can
just
go
realized
up.
that it might come up in other cases. So
You can signature of attorney or unrepresented plaintiff in this first
Okay.
one. So if indeed an attorney is filling out, their signature would appear there as well.
Oh, okay. So in that
then I
case,
realized,
your
that
logic.
it might be. Sorry.
Oh, well, you might change our. So I mean, this was a good exercise, but you might change our logic a fair amount to handle that then. So it's always going to. You only really ever need one signature.
Right.
They have to sign it twice.
No.
You just want to warn them, and you don't want to show the signature in one of the places. So then we might use our one-line if statement instead. Might be a neater way.
So
to
if
handle
user role is plaintiff, if user role is attorney.
then show the signature, otherwise leave it empty. That might be the way to handle that.
And then we could have a checkbox, saying that you certify that you complied.
Yeah, and you could use that example Michelle
And,
just
and,
added to
and
the
then
basic
just
question.
repeat the signature.
Yes.
Because you signed it.
Use the same
signature
variable,
appears
that is.
twice if it's
Yep.
if it's the same, if it's an attorney. Yeah.
Yeah, so use the same variable. You wouldn't need that new signature block that we just added, although I'm sure that'll be helpful for somebody else. So
Right. That's what I was
Helpful
thinking.
for
Sorry
me.
about cutting you off there, because what you were about to explain might have been useful for other people as well. So I'm sorry about just interrupting.
That's okay. It's both are good. So it's both it's good exercise to go through.
Yeah.
You can read a form and not see, and we all have to do this a few times to figure out, well, what is it actually asking for? What does it mean? So we can translate it into a real question. So that's, I think, helpful too.
Okay, perfect. So the question, but what I'm asking is, I don't think that the signature needs to come up twice. I think the signature is just coming up once, and then we just do a checkbox saying they certify that they complied with the requirements. So you can either
Yes.
say so it'll be do you certify that you comply, that portion over there? They'll either say yes or no, and then if yes, their signature will appear there.
It appears, yeah, it places the signature in there.
Right, the same one. So we don't have to ask them to sign twice if they're an attorney.
I
Right.
have a question about the choice, of the if statement there versus controlling the if statement with the flow. But
Sure. Yeah, we can spend. I know you'd asked that before about the style there. So let's take I don't know if everyone understands that, but let's take a look at the attachment block first, and we can kind of zoom in on it a little bit. I know it's two.
Which
maybe we could just spend
attachment block? The second one?
Yeah, I'm going to have to jump off, which means the
if we have
recording
to go,
stops.
then that's fine.
I think you can
It's not
stay.
a
It's just the
critical
recording is going to
question.
stop.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we did that last time, and I did a new recording, but then I forgot to upload it, I think. So I should find that and upload it from last week. That just is reminding me.
Yeah.
All right.